search my truck.
I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Like you, be strong to hold the powers of the sun.
Listen to Pavarotti.
Can I be your superhero?
Hello, welcome to The Revealing. I'm your host Pavarotti, and I'm here to discuss the Idaho 4 case. No holds barred. And that is it. No holds barred, I'm telling you. Old Pop feels pretty good, even though I'm cooked like a lobster. Spent a lot of time on the lake yesterday. Had a great time. And Mrs. Pav caught all these ginormous catfish. We caught bluegill, brim, bass. I mean, you name it. It was just like, I don't think we caught, I don't know how many, probably 40 or 50. And we threw most of them back. But, whew, feel excellent. And in this episode, we're going to talk about something that it clearly says in the Bible. Right? In the Bible, it says in the last days that things will be looked at completely upside down. It says in the Bible, in the last days, people will say the things that are good are bad and the things that are bad are good. And I never really understood what that meant until this Doordash driver situation came out, and it applies, I mean, absolutely, I mean, to the T. It applies to the T. Now, there's many things, obviously, in our society where you can look at where people say they're good and you know they're bad, and they say they're bad, you know they're good, and it's perplexing. But this is an excellent example of this situation. Because before I took my fishing trip, I was looking at the comments on another content creator's channel. By the way, I looked at all your comments on the video the other night, and y'all are all amazing. Thank you. As I read those comments, I shifted over to another channel and watching the content on that channel, and then I looked at the comments and I went, whoa, that must be what the Bible's talking about. It's unbelievable. Can you believe? I mean, I can't believe it. But now I understand. I completely understand a lot in this case. I understand why all of those people that we label the guilters out there talk about people like us that are pointing things out in this case and going, well, those people are they're just dumb. They're pro-burgers. They look at stuff. And then I read their comments and I go, whoa. This is why those people say that stuff about us, because they've lost it. They've lost it. They have literally lost it. Or maybe they never had it. That's probably more than the case. They never had it. These people really think this way. And they've been watching the things in this case. Well, of course, they watch them through the eyes of the minions, and it's unbelievable what they have done to these people's brains. Take, for example, this situation with the Doordash driver. And I'm going to hit hard on that in this one, because give me a break. But when they look at the situation on the Doordash, all of a sudden they become very objective to law enforcement, but in the wrong way. What have we said from the beginning? And we point out literal facts. I mean, literal facts. All right, look, law enforcement did this. That's wrong. Can you believe they did this? Look, the probable cause affidavit there had no probable cause. I mean, we're pointing out facts, and they look at us like we're crazy. When you switch it over to this Doordash situation, these people that you would think are pro law enforcement, because that's what's made them a guilter in this case, they flip over on their heads. They go to attacking law enforcement. Now, I don't know if these people have never watched an episode of Cops in their life, but I mean, they should be forced. I mean, I'm being kind of facetious here, but literally they should be forced to, somebody should tie them down to a chair and make them watch about 5 episodes of the show Cops. And then after watching 5 episodes of the show Cops, then they should be shown this body cam of this DoorDash driver one more time and see if they have the ability to think for themselves. I don't know if they would, even after doing that. In this stop of the DoorDash driver, this is a atypical stop. Happens 100 times a day in every city across the United States. She didn't, her tags were expired. Her tags were expired. You drive around with expired tags and you go in front of a law enforcement officer, they have specialized equipment in their car. It scans your tags. And as soon as it scans a tag that has the wrong color little sticker for the year or the month, it tells them, hey, this vehicle's expired. Your tags are expired. They pull you over. And they either write you a ticket for expired tags, or if it appears something else may be going on, well, then a whole nother situation takes place, just like you see in the DoorDash video. She had expired tags. They walked up to the truck. They recognized her. She looked tweaked freaking out. They looked in the back of the truck. They seen drugs. She got on the phone with her boyfriend. He says her boyfriend. Now, this is what everybody misses. All right. Everybody misses this. This is why I put it in the song. The little song that you heard in the beginning of this, there's meth. Don't let anybody search the truck. There's meth. The boyfriend who owns the truck, when she calls him, he tells her on the phone, he doesn't realize she's got him on speakerphone for the world to hear. He says, there's meth. You hear him. It's clear. There's meth. Don't let them search my truck. And what's bad is he said it in a way where I don't think he had too much concern for Molly there. I think he said it because he realized that the police were going to search his truck, take his drugs, and he wouldn't have them anymore. That's why he didn't want them to search his truck. Hey, don't let them search my truck. They're going to get my stuff. People, I don't understand people. And then the fact that she didn't get charged with it is a whole nother thing. But I'll tell you why she didn't get charged with it in this video. And I have no sympathy for this lady. And I'm going to tell you why in this video. And this is what people are missing. This is why she's been owned by Bill Thompson since 2013. This is why when you look at the person who shot her husband, he only got 2 years. Is it 2 to 15, right? He only got 2 to 15. Why is that? If this guy was just opening her trailer door for a friend to replace the locks, and this guy shoots him and he was in that trailer, he wasn't supposed to even be in there, this guy would have got Meister time, y'all. But he only got 2 to 15. Why is that? Because they hid the facts of that case from you. It is unbelievable to me how ridiculously naive people are. And my blood pressure's not high. I feel tremendous. Goodness, I feel great. I'm sunburnt to the point where I can barely move my arms and it hurts when I move, but I feel tremendous. So don't think my blood. I know y'all get worried about my blood pressure, but this has got to be said. This has got to be said. Because as I look at closer things in this case, it's glaringly obvious. It's glaringly obvious. When you look at where the DoorDash picked up that food and the time it picked up that food and the travel that it took to the house, there's no way that it wasn't part of this thing. You got to be able to see that. And I'll show it to you. There's no way. And then with the work of Marc Bee, there's no way that DoorDash driver actually seen the white car. There's no way. So to be able to say this is either part of the setup that was planned originally. Well, the law enforcement are trying to make her say to try to get that last piece of nexus, or a combination thereof. That's the question that we need to really figure out. But for the people that think this, first of all, we got to do this. I screenshotted some of those comments. I'm not going to mention the channel name or these commenters' name, but I'm going to read some of these comments that I read, and I was like, what is the Bible? I had to go break open the Bibles. In the end times, people will say it was bad is good, and good is bad. This is amazing to me. And when I read these comments, I go, wow, these are my fellow citizens. They think they're fellow citizens of Russia or something. This is America. Blows my mind. Let's read some comments. Okay, I'm going to try to get through these examples without my brain exploding, y'all. But here's the first one. She ends up getting released 0 alcohol. That cop gives good cops a bad name. Oh my goodness. Number one, here's something people don't point out very often, and that's the 2 designations for what they call DUI. The first one is called DWI. This is typically given to people over the age of 21 that are arrested for driving while intoxicated. And that has to do with the consumption of alcohol. If you're arrested with driving while intoxicated, well, then when you take a breathalyzer, your alcohol percentage in your blood is going to show up. Most states, it's 0.08. Some are 0.1, some are less. But that would be when you were charged with a DWI, which is driving while intoxicated. So that wouldn't give a cop, that cop gives good cops a bad name. Oh my God. But what she was charged with, or should have been charged with, was DUI. Now, a lot of times you'll see DUI on people that are under the age that are pulled over for driving while intoxicated. They'll give them a DUI, which is driving under the influence. But when they're over 21 and they get a DUI, well, you would expect their blood alcohol level to be 0 because they're not charged with a DWI. They're charged with DUI, which is driving under the influence of drugs. So no, it wouldn't give that cop didn't give good cops a bad name. That cop did their job like every other cop does 100 times a day, every single day. Good grief. Look, they blame the cop. They blame the cop for this. And, oh my goodness. Look at this one. This poor girl needs a good defense attorney. He didn't have probable cause to stop her on her arrest, or stop her or arrest her. He didn't have probable cause to stop her. She had expired tags. This is probable cause for any stop. And the most often reason for traffic stops, period. If you drive around with expired tags, let me tell you how it works. In these cop cars, they have these computer systems and they have these scanners. They're not staring at your tags going, oh, it looks like that one is expired. They have a scanner system in their car and it scans tags. And if one comes back and the little sticker is expired, then it tells them expired tags. They pull you over and they say, well, your tags are expired. Why are they expired? I'm gonna write you a ticket for, not renewing your tags. That keeps people renewing their tags so the revenue office can continue to get their revenue. But then if they walk up to your car, they recognize you and you're tweaked out. I mean, they're going to, whole other things going to take place. Like you seen in the traffic stop video. They didn't have probable cause to stop her or arrest her. They didn't have probable cause to arrest her. Give me a break. Her boyfriend's on speakerphone telling them, hey, there's meth. Don't let them search my truck. She's getting arrested every single time. She didn't get charged. There's the crime. I think she's been through a lot. She's overwhelmed. That doesn't make you a drug user. I wish her the best. No, it doesn't make her a drug user that she's been through a lot and overwhelmed. But being tweaked to the max and your boyfriend screaming on speakerphone, there's meth, don't let them search my truck, that makes you a drug user. Yeah, that does. The rest of it doesn't. These people, I can't even imagine. I mean, how do they, could they solve a Rubik's Cube? I don't think so. I hope she gets an attorney and sues for violation of her civil rights. Violation of her civil rights? Plenty of civil rights attorneys would jump on this case. No, actually not. If civil rights attorney, you'd need to dial 911 due to them having a possible stroke from laughing too hard at you. If you tried to bring this case, bring them the traffic stop, say, I need to sue these cops, it's civil rights. They'd be like, you tweaked out sucker with with expired tags. I mean, what do you expect to happen? Good grief. They're telling her she needs to sue the cops is what they're saying. I mean, I'm dumbfounded. And then they look at the evidence in the Kohberger case, and I mean, good grief! If you told him Kohberger ate a chocolate chip cookie and left it on his deck, they would have matched his DNA to the DNA that came through the rain that rained on the King Road house. They'd be like, put him in front of the firing squad. God. I love this intro better. Great content as always. This content creator, their name must be Danielle. Must be a female. Look, Danielle. I appreciate you. I feel bad for Molly. She has had a rough few years, and fibromyalgia is so hard on her, apparently. You can bet it is. I mean, I imagine if you have fibromyalgia and then you correlate that to doing, massive amounts of street drugs for I know at least 11 years up to that point, you can bet it will progress fibromyalgia. I bet it has been hard on her. Good grief. Bad stop. Officer Jordan voiced a lot of his opinions with no facts. Oh my God. Bad stop. Her tags were expired. Drive around with expired tags. You're going to get stopped too. With no facts? Well, how about her boyfriend on speakerphone yelling because he was freaked out? He yelled as loud as he could. There's meth. Don't let them search my truck. No facts? I mean, that's probable cause any day of the week and 3 times on Sunday. And there was 9 officers involved in this stop. You think this was just an expired tag stop? They brought in the K9 unit. They ran that K9 unit around that truck. You can bet they got in that truck. So the fact that there's no charges on this thing is the biggest travesty I've seen so far. Watching on replay, could it be possible that this Officer Jordan may have talked about this Doordash driver and be a leak of info? No, it's possible that Danielle is the leak of info. Good grief. What are your thoughts? At the very least, perhaps Pullman Police Department might get some insight into watching this video and use it as a learning experience on how to improve their department and review of their policy. As you stated, this isn't proper policing. It isn't proper policing, as you stated, and Danielle here apparently used to be a police officer, so this is where I get serious on this, because he used to be a police officer. And there isn't a beat cop in this country that would look at this video and not understand that that happens every single day, 100 times a day, and it's exactly that procedure every single time. So for him or her to get on there, Miss Danielle to get on there and try to manipulate a stop like this that she knows exactly what is taking place, and he tries to manipulate this, this is proof. This comment right here is proof that the minions are not honestly guilted people with a bias. They are actually pawns used in the coverage of this case to corrupt people. That is proof right there. No respect for them anymore after this. She doesn't seem high. She seems overwhelmed. Oh, really? She seems overwhelmed because she's so freaking high and she's got meth in her truck that she knows that this is going to impact her life for years to come. So yeah, she's overwhelmed. She doesn't seem high. She's overwhelmed. No, she's overwhelmed because she seems high. Good grief, people. This really makes me angry. Oh, it does. Bad cops. Look at this mean face. Bad cops are my least respected people. Really? And you look at all the evidence in the Kohberger case and you come to the conclusion that they were all justified, but this poor woman, these are bad cops? Are you freaking kidding me? I really like this lady. Only seen 2 videos of her. They're both, her being arrested for being tweaked out of her mind, but I think she's incredible. She's incredible. She's so lovely and kind and caring. Boy, yeah, she's lovely and kind and caring. Wait till I talk about the Nisbet case here in a minute. I'll show you how kind and caring she is. Why can't these bad law enforcement officers leave this poor lady alone and go catch real criminals? Really hope she's okay. I just want to hug her and tell her it's going to be okay. Oh, really? Why don't you go tell that to Nathaniel Nisbet when they were busting into his house to try to steal his backpack full of meth and he shot her husband? I don't even know how to respond to this. And this lady right here, y'all, I'm not going to say who she is, but this lady that wrote this comment, I know her well. She is literally, and I mean literally, the dumbest person ever to type a comment on YouTube on any channel at any point in time. Literally. This is just one of thousands of examples that expired tags is a bad stop for a traffic stop. It makes her so angry. I bet it does, because she is the dumbest person ever to type a comment on YouTube. Great job, Danielle. This content creator's name must be Danielle. It must be a lady. Oh, now, by the way, here's the big bombshell. Good job, Plunder. Now, I think Plunder's, she said she's non-biased. Could be. But what she did right here was produce the documentation that will impact this trial like you would not believe. Look at this. Deputy report for incident 24, S2355. Narrative. This is the officer's report. Whitman County Sheriff Law Enforcement Narrative, 9/4/24. Now, this is an honest take on stuff. I believe this is exactly what, but wait a minute, watch this. While on patrol for the Whitman County Sheriff's Office, I observed a vehicle turn into the Walmart parking lot from Harvest Drive. As the vehicle passed by me, I noticed the tabs that were displayed are expired. That probably should have said tags, but it could just be the little tabs that go over the date on the tags. And he noticed them, so he's seen them with his eyes. His little computer probably registered that her tags were expired. But looky here, he ran the registration and the vehicle was expired on 7/11. Could have been 22, could have been 21, who knows? But maybe they had just expired. So expired tags, that's a righteous stop. Anybody out there with any integrity at all will agree that expired tags is a righteous stop, not a bad stop. I stopped the vehicle and contacted the driver, who I recognized as Molly McMichael. I know Millie, but he can't type real well. I know Molly. Look, this right here. I know Molly, as I arrested her in the past for DUI. So she better have two of them on there, but she doesn't. They erased that one as well, but he knows he arrested her in the past for DUI. I also know Molly is involved in the use of narcotics, meth and fentanyl. I explained the reason for the stop. I asked Molly for her information. Molly told me Walmart was her last stop on the way home. She struggled to find her information. While talking with Molly, her condition in finding her documents appeared to be off. Molly had over-exaggerated movement. Molly's pupils were pinpoint. Molly continued to clench her jaws. These are common signs of a person under the influence. But here's the bombshell right here. Good job finding this stuff, Plunder, because here's what's about to happen, y'all. You think they can't prove drug use from Molly? They don't have to. You see, this officer right here that performed this traffic stop needs to be on the defense witness list, and I can imagine they probably already are. So picture this right here. Your Honor, I call to the stand Officer Jordan, I believe is who this is. And Officer Jordan comes up and they say, oh, okay, do you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, Officer Jordan? I do. Okay, Officer Jordan, on September 4th, 2024, there was a traffic stop made by you to Molly McMichael. Do you remember that stop? Do you remember that stop? I kindly remember it. Okay. And once you realized it was Molly McMichael that you had pulled over, you had some assumptions that you already knew from the past. Is that right? Well, I can't recall. Okay, well, let me direct your attention to Exhibit Z that I just put in front of you. Your Honor, I'd like to enter Exhibit Z into the record. Okay? Okay, so maybe this report that you typed will help jog your memory, Officer Jordan. Can you read that line right there and tell me what it says? I also know Molly is involved in the use of narcotics, meth and fentanyl. Okay, so it doesn't say you also think Molly is. You actually stated, I also know Molly is. Is that right? Yes, ma'am. Okay, can you tell us how you were so sure that Molly was involved in the use of meth and fentanyl? And then bam, 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 bye-bye, Molly.
Yep, thank you, all the girls over in Moscow.
Well, this won't change any of that.
There's a D line on my record.
I think they would be more concerned about the drug use than the DUI, Molly. I think they would be more concerned about the drug use than the DUI, Molly. I think they would be more concerned about the drug use than the DUI, Molly.
You see, there can be many ways for Thompson and company to try to erase the record as it relates to this witness, but they can't erase everything because there's enough out there now that it can be brought into the trial through proper foundation, through witness testimony. That's right. The body cams of the officers having discussions about those things, about what they assumed and knew about Molly McMichael, and just putting those officers on the stand and then putting the record in front of them where they can't lie is going to be the way to bring that stuff in. They want to hide it. Well, they didn't hide it well enough. And I know the defense has already got a hold of this and they're preparing for this witness. And then when they correlate all of these statements from law enforcement along with the facts and what really took place, as their experts explain, there's no way that Molly could have seen Brian Kohberger in his car. Well, who do you think they're going to believe once the law enforcement officers get up there and have to really spill the beans on the credibility of Molly? Yeah, good luck with that. And that's not just defense strategy for Brian Kohberger. That's putting the truth, putting the facts on trial. So guilters out there that want to negate the facts of the trial and try to manipulate events so that it looks like it's something more than it is, once again, that's not American. It's evil. That's all it is. That's evil. I mean, they call bad good and good bad. Good grief. But now, you sure are hard on Molly. Yeah, I am. I'm really hard on Molly because I've read the facts in the Nisbet case, and I know what happened in the Nisbet case. That, once again, points to when people say, why would they try to cover up all this stuff in this case, Pavarotti? And would they go as far as convicting an innocent guy for this just to cover it up? Well, yeah. The answer to that is yes. If they can pull off that Kohberger was a one-off Ted Bundy, whether Kohberger is innocent or guilty, you can bet they'll try to do it, and they'll try to do it and not even bat an eyebrow. And because they've been trying to do this stuff for, I know, at least 20 years, at least, going all the way back to the Meister case, probably before that. That's how important this college town is to these people and keeping all of this stuff out of the headlines. Because when you go to the Nisbet case, that is the very first egregious sign I can find of them keeping this stuff out of the public eye and manipulating media coverage and facts in a case to keep the truth out of the media's eye and out of the public's eye, because they know don't ever, ever, ever forget this. They know that when you have news reports of any unaliving involved with narcotics, it is going to put a bad light on the area. And people do not want to send their children to a school where even in the peripheral of the school in that area, they see that people are unalived due to anything regarding narcotics. Because guess what people don't want to do? They don't want to send their children to a school where there's narcotics all around it. So they keep all that out of the media. And then if you add an unaliving along with narcotics, then they really don't want to send their kids there. And these people that run that town know this. So let's go back to the Nisbet case, where we first learn about Molly McMichael and the true facts in that case. I'm going to read you a couple articles, and then I'm going to tell you what happened in the Nisbet case. And that's why he only got 2 years. Now, this is what was reported in the Spokesman Review. So this gets outside of the little area of Moscow. It's still watered down, but it does give us a little bit of insight. A magistrate judge has ruled there's enough evidence to merit a trial for Moscow man charged with unaliving in connection with the shooting death of an acquaintance. Notice here they say an acquaintance. We're going to find out that's not true. Nathaniel Nisbet is charged with second-degree unaliving after prosecutors, Bill Thompson, said he shot and killed 42-year-old Charles Pat McMichael during a confrontation at a Moscow home on November 10th. Magistrate John C. Judge, so we got Thompson and Judge again, made the ruling Thursday at a preliminary hearing, sending the case to 2nd District Court for trial, the Lewiston Tribune reported. Police said the shooting took place at the Bel Air Mobile Park. And this is actually the Palouse Mobile Park on this date. I mean, right now, you look at the Bel Air Mobile Home Park, it's the Palouse Park where Leonard lives. McMichael's wife, Molly McMichael, testified Thursday that she and her husband were to help. They were just going to help Erica Rosamondo, Nisbet's wife, change the locks and fix door jams on her mobile home. Rosamondo said she and her husband were separated and that Nisbet wasn't supposed to be at the home. When Pat McMichael went to the trailer, he found the door locked, the woman said. When Rosamondo tried to unlock the door, she said she found it was blocked. She said Pat McMichael pushed his way through and that she thought she saw Nisbet near the kitchen. Actual quote, Pat barreled through me into the door through the house, Rosamondo said. So let's stop right here and let's start putting this together, all right? So they go over to this trailer. The door's locked. Well, then Rosamondo unlocks the door, but then something's blocking the door. So, Pat, he doesn't wait for Rosamondo to tell him what to do. Pat just barrels through me into the door through the house. So he pushes her door open and he runs in the house. Now, why does this not sound like just somebody changing a lock? Because that's not what's taking place here. And I'll show you. The woman said they heard 3 or 4 noises described as breaking glass. So Pat barreled through the door, went in there, and started fighting with Nisbet, followed by a pause, and then 3 or 4 more noises. So they're scrapping in there. Rosamondo said she pushed her way into the trailer. Why did she have to push her way in if Pat already did? And heard 3 pops. She then slid to the floor by a filing cabinet with her arm up in a defensive position. That way she couldn't see anything. At that point, I saw Pat on the floor, Rosamondo said. She said she next saw Nisbet standing in the hallway holding a 9mm Beretta pistol. Now, Latah County Prosecutor Bill Thompson told the court the evidence showed. Oh, really? Is this what the evidence showed, Bill? Nisbet shot Pat McMichael multiple times with a discernible amount of time between rounds. Now, how does the evidence show there was a discernible amount of time between rounds? When you're shot with a bullet, how does evidence show time frames between being shot? All right. So the first shot happened. 10 seconds later, the second shot happened. 10 seconds later, the second shot happens. Was the only evidence of that could possibly be evidence would be what Rosamondo or maybe Molly McMichael testified to? Is that your evidence? But, oh, no, he's going to back it up, though, with real hardcore science. Thompson said an autopsy showed the first shot was fatal. How do you know the first shot was fatal in an autopsy of a guy that must have been shot within a matter of seconds? You think the first shot was fatal? Maybe the last shot was fatal. There's no way to determine that in an autopsy. Give me a break. And then McMichael had 3 shots to his chest, but that first shot was the fatal one. How do you know the last shot wasn't the fatal one? Come on, man. McMichael wasn't armed. Oh, really? Thompson said. No, he wasn't armed. He didn't have to be. Apparently, McMichael's a pretty tough dude. He barreled through the door, went in there, and started trying to beat up Nisbet. Why? We'll find out. Nisbet's being held at the Latah County Jail. So this is the first incident of this. Now, you don't see anything in here about narcotics at all. And this is just a simple case of innocent Molly and Pat just going over to help Miss Raimondo change the locks. But then when you hear that, Pat barrels through the door and starts attacking Nisbet, it's just, you feel like something's missing, right? That's because there's something missing. All right, now I showed y'all this. This was never added into any of the news reports, though. You had to find this on a separate news report. And that was the update that the drug charge was added to North Idaho man's unaliving charge. A Moscow man charged with second-degree murder and shooting death of an acquaintance now faces a drug charge. Now, if you wanted to go back and watch the video of the news reporting on that, look, Lewiston Tribune reports, and they had a news report. And you click on it, guess what happens? Let's see. Oh, 404, you didn't break the internet, but we can't find what you're looking for. Been erased from existence, you think? The Lewiston Tribune reports in a story on Wednesday that 28-year-old Nathaniel Nisbet has been charged in 2nd District Court with possession of a controlled substance. Police say they found methamphetamine in a backpack while searching a trailer following that November 10th shooting. Prosecutors say the Nisbet shot and killed 42-year-old Pat McMichael during a confrontation at the Moscow home. They say McMichael was supposed to help Nisbet's estranged wife change the locks on her mobile home, but McMichael found Nisbet inside with a 9mm pistol. Nisbet has pleaded not guilty to second-degree murder. A trial is scheduled for March 18th. So they want to hide the backpack full of meth in this story, which is the real reason for what happened to Pat McMichael. Then we go to this one. 42-year-old man shot, killed after argument, police say. Well, now this is after an argument. That's not what the other news report reported, is it? In Moscow, Idaho, Associated Press, authorities in northern Idaho have arrested a man suspected of shooting another man during an argument at a trailer house Sunday in Moscow. Moscow Police Chief David Duke identified the suspect as Nathaniel Nisbet, 28. He is expected to appear in state court Tuesday and potentially face charges of first-degree unaliving, serious charges. Nisbet was arrested Sunday in the shooting death of Charles Patrick McMichael, 42. Investigators say McMichael was shot after an argument with Nisbet and died of gunshot wounds to the chest. The shooting occurred after McMichael and 2 women, including the woman who owns the trailer, arrived at the residence intending to change the locks on the door. Yeah. Investigators say the door was locked when McMichael arrived, so he forced it open and discovered Nisbet inside, and an argument between the 2 men ensued. Now, we know from the other news reporting this is not what happened. They arrived, the lady unlocked the door, there was something blocking the door, and McMichael barreled past her, pushed the door open, ran in, and started fighting Nisbet, because that's why they were there. No one knew he was inside. No, I bet they didn't. They just thought his backpack was inside, Duke said. The woman who owns the trailer and the alleged shooter lived together at one time, but they are estranged. Yeah, I bet. After the shooting, police arrived on the scene and immediately arrested Nisbet. Investigators say Nisbet, McMichael, and the two women, whom police have not yet identified, all knew each other and were employed by the same cleaning company. This wasn't a case of them going over to change locks for this lady. They all worked together at the cleaning company. They all knew Nisbet had the backpack, and they thought Nisbet had left the backpack at the trailer, and they didn't know Nisbet was there. So when they barreled open that door, old Pat wanted that backpack so bad that he ran in and he started fighting Nisbet for it. And then Nisbet shot him. A neighbor who lives in the mobile home park next to the trailer where the incident occurred said he heard 3 shots shortly before police arrived. We saw a pickup drive up to the house with 3 people in it, 2 women and a guy. They went inside, and shortly after, we heard bang, 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 neighbor Kai Azaline said. So when you take just those facts, and I've got the case, I've got it coming to me. I'm going to get as many facts as I can, even though I know this was done behind closed doors. But you can tell what happened in this situation, and this is where they took over ownership of Molly McMichael. And this is why when people say I'm being hard on Molly McMichael, yeah, I am. Because her and her husband went to this trailer to steal this man's backpack full of meth. And this guy that wasn't supposed to be there was there. It didn't slow down her husband, Pat. He went in. He was going to whoop him and take it. But the guy just happened to have a gun and defended himself. That's why you've got a first-degree murder charge turned into second-degree murder, and the guy only gets 2 years because he agreed to that 2-year deal because he knew that he could have faced more. And why do they own Molly McMichael because of it? Because let me tell you, because they were going in there to steal that guy's drugs, that's a felony theft. When just the intent to do that's a felony theft. And what happens is if you're committing a felony theft and somebody dies, then you are able to be charged with the unaliving because it happened during the commission of another crime. So when they put that kind of pressure on Molly and say, look, we can charge you with the unaliving because you were committing another crime when this happened, then they made a deal with everybody. And then everybody involved in that became owned by Bill Thompson and law enforcement in that area. They owned them. And when I get all the facts of this case in, I'm going to dive in even deeper. But that's why I have no respect for Molly. They were going in there to steal a guy's drugs and end up killing the guy for it. And don't think for a second that it's just the Thompson pressure on Molly that is making her do what she's being asked to do in this Kohberger case. Because once I seen that patrol car video that Plunder put out and that officer that was transporting her back to the jail, you can tell she's just an honest officer. And when Molly is writing, she's starting to set the stage for how she's going to try to get out of that situation. And she says, yeah, I've got to testify to, about the college murder. And I don't think that, having this DUI, it's going to hurt that. And she said, well, I think they're probably more worried about the drug use, Molly, than this DUI. And she said, yeah, I'm sure. But that was not an innocent question by Molly, okay? She's riding back and she's already trying to use that scenario to get her out of those problems. She's planting the seed. She's scheming right there. And you see, when she starts scheming right there to try to get out of those DUI charges she was about to have and that possession charge you can bet she was about to have, then you can bet that is a scheming person that will use situations like the Kohberger thing to try to keep herself out of trouble. And that's why I say no respect for Molly and what she does. It's not just Thompson and company putting that pressure on her. That's her scheming right along with them, maybe even suggesting it to get out of issues. So, yeah, right. I have no respect for her. She's a schemer. Her and her husband did that to Nisbet all those years ago, and now she's more ready, willing, and able to do it to somebody else to get herself out of trouble. And she's suggesting it. And I seen it with my own eyes, heard it with my own ears. Once I did, no. All right, now we're going to move a little bit more forward, and we're going to show that everything that this lady is going to say is a lie because of the work of the great Marc Bee. But first, to understand why Marc Bee's analysis is so important, it's because of this document right here found in States Authenticating Records. And it is the receipt of the Doordash delivery, and it shows that it happened at 11:59 and 00 seconds on November 13th, 2022. And it even over here under this number, people have researched it, and it shows that it was Xana Kernodle's account associated with this delivery, but it's the 35900 that will get you. And that's where becoming very familiar with what's in the court record will come into play, because most people would never even figure out that this was something that was happening right before your eyes in real time. Because after that record, they add in this certificate of authenticity of business records of regularly conducted business activity. Remember all those words. And you can see this is from Doordash, and it's dated November 23rd, 2022. This was submitted to the defense in discovery way back in 2023. But this certificate of authenticity is from November 23rd, 2022, regularly conducted business activity, showing that this receipt is certified, authentic. So what happens later? The defense must have realized what the game is with the Doordash driver, because then they submit this in their self-authenticating records objection. And it says Doordash records for Xana and Ethan. And Ethan's Doordash, this contains some of Ethan's Doordash records, but does not, capital letters, not contain records for Xana Kernodle. And the 4523 disclosure is a Doordash search warrant. The warrant contains photographs, list of deliveries to 1122 King Road, and a span as far back as 2019, and a spreadsheet of communications between the person ordering the food and the Doordasher. The state has not specified which of these records it intends to use at trial, how they were made, how they were made and kept in the course of regularly conducted business activity, and if it was the regular practice of that business to make the report of the record. So the defense says that whatever that they produced as this receipt, it doesn't match the facts. And how did they do this? And is it something that they do in regular conducted business activity? And they hit them with it. Look what happened. The state responds with this: Doordash records for Xana and Ethan. These documents are maintained by a business. The state would seek admission of the documents pursuant to the Idaho Rules of Evidence. The state may rely on the attached record, State Exhibits S9 from Doordash regarding the delivery to 1122 King Road on November 13, 2022 at 3:59 a.m. This particular evidence provides a timeline of events for Xana before the homicides and corroborates state witness testimony. This was provided to the defendant on May 26, 2023. But look at this last statement. The state is in the process of obtaining a certificate of authenticity. They realized at this point their gig was up. They knew that first certificate wasn't real. And the proof is in the pudding, because they provided this certificate of authenticity way back on November 23rd, 2022. And the state knew at that point that that thing was not going to hold up in court. So they said, we're in the process of obtaining a new certificate of authenticity. And then we've seen this play out in the court.
All right. Next, I have self-authentication of records and reliance on 803. I'm not sure we're ready to argue this, because I don't think the state has complied with the obligations in order to rely on the self-authentication issue if they haven't provided the specific documents and certificates that they're intending to rely upon in advance of the motion at this point. So I'm not sure that this isn't premature.
Yeah, Your Honor, we agree. That's probably an accurate statement, and a better time will be after the exhibit witness list is due, and then the parties have to get together and determine what exhibits we have objections to, and then we can address this issue.
Part of my scheduling order is a meet and confer over the exhibit lists to determine whether there's a good faith basis for an authenticity objection or not. And certainly the rules on self-authentication are crystal clear as to what is allowed. And so if it meets those, then I imagine we won't have a problem.
Now, if y'all remember, I told y'all when I first read you this record, when it says corroborate state witness testimony, I told you that was the Doordash driver months ago. Now, I didn't get the Doordash driver right, but I told you that was for the Doordash driver. Go back and watch the video. And it's the 359 that they're pushing right here is the big game. And when Ann Taylor pointed out that that record was not authentic, the state recanted, said we're in the process of obtaining a more authentic record, and then even pushed off the limine motion for self-authenticating records, and the judge let them do it. But here's why this is so important, y'all. Pay close attention. Because when you use the FBI's report of all of the camera sightings and you correlate it with the leaked video that they're going to be using at trial, this is the picture that it paints. When the suspect vehicle was entering the neighborhood, it's caught on camera here at the 1112 King Road camera as it turns right here onto Queen Road at 35624. And then they back it up with the camera footage of the vehicle at 35624. Then the vehicle circles the Queen Road apartments. It's seen on Linda Lane footage right here. As it continues to circle, there'll be headlights on trees on the house over here, 35727. But then when you take that record of the Doordash delivery at 359, actually making a delivery, that puts them entering the neighborhood at about 358 and parking before 359, just as the white car would be going past it. This is where they're going to say she identified the vehicle, because the vehicle then hits at 358.23, the other Linda Lane camera, the other 1112 Ridge Road camera, 1112 King Road camera. And then the Doordash delivery at 359 as the vehicle will be pulling out. That's where they're going to say that the Doordash deliverer seen the white Elantra and possibly Brian Koberger. We know that that is when it happened, because then the Doordash delivery's done and gone when this last pass happens. This is why Marc Bee's report on this is so important.
Hello, YouTubers. There's a car sound on 1330 Linda Lane camera that could be the Doordash. And we're going to explore that today. So this is the route, this purse, that it would typically take. Here's Blake. It would come down Blake, then west on Taylor, and then into the house right here. Okay, but the sound that I hear, for whatever reason, it's coming down Blake, from North Blake down south to Taylor.
So Mark has the Doordash driver entering the neighborhood at 359.06, parking at 359.32, and then finally clicking the key fob on the horn at 359.46. Remember these times. Now, Mark did an extensive deep dive into this subject to come up with those three very accurate times. The link to that video will be in the description of this video. If you want to see how he came to that, it's very, very accurate, and it's very important. And it's even backed up by previous work by Gray Hughes Instigates before he changed his story, which was actually good work by Gray Hughes for one time in his career. Let's watch.
10. All right, here we go. Could you hear that right there? Beep. That was the key fob. See? So if we look at, I have this all listed on here. The purple is the key fob. So at 3:59:46, 48, and 51, it has those first three key fob sounds. And then at 4 o'clock and 27 seconds and 28 are the key fob again. So the time between that is probably, looks like about 38 seconds or so, 37 seconds. So I could see somebody walking back in like 25 seconds, leaving it down, and then coming back, and then as you're heading towards your car, you hit the key fob to unlock it to get into it.
Now, in keeping in compliance with fair use standards, that was a reaction to 1 minute and 10 seconds of one of Gray Hughes's videos. And to stay fully compliant with fair use standards, I will put the link in the description of this video to that video. So again, here's the law enforcement fake events. 358 on camera there on Ridge. Pulls into the Taylor Road apartments. Pulls out and comes in to make the pass through the King Road neighborhood. Pulls onto King as the vehicle pulls onto King and Queen. They're caught on camera at 3:56:24 at 1112 King. Here's the video footage of it. The vehicle proceeds down to Linda Lane Apartments, where it is caught on camera again at 3:56:57. It then proceeds to behind the Queen Road Apartments, where it's caught headlights on trees at 3:57:27. What law enforcement was wanting everybody to believe is it sat there until right before 3:59, where the Doordash driver comes in and parks. Look, I'm right next to Brian. I see him. Oh, I can testify to that. And then suspect vehicle exits the neighborhood. It's caught on camera at 3:58:23. We see it right here. This is the whole point of everything, y'all. This is what they've been trying to manipulate forever. 3:59, the Doordash is delivered at 3:59:00. And then the vehicle seen headlights on trees at 3:59. Here's what actually happened though. 3:53, headlights on trees. The vehicle comes up, parks in the Linda Lane Apartments. Then the vehicle pulls into the King Road neighborhood, where it's caught on camera at King and Queen right here at exactly 3:56:24. Here we see it happening, 3:56:24. The vehicle then continues around the Linda Lane Apartments. It's caught on Linda Lane at 3:56:57. It continues around to where it is caught headlights on trees at 3:57:27. It sits here for a minute before it pulls out. There's no Doordash pulling in. Thanks to Marc Bee, we now know this, and with backup work by Gray Hughes. And right here, it's caught on camera, 3:58:23. There you see it on the monitor, and then the vehicle is pulling out of the King Road neighborhood, and it's heading down to where it's caught on trees on Walenta right here at 3:59:04. And as that happened, the Doordash driver comes from Taylor Avenue onto King Road, where that happened at 3:59:06, where it turned in onto King. Then you can see she pulls in front of the King Road residence at 3:59:32. Thank you, Marc Bee. And then according to Gray Hughes and Marc Bee, then the horn beeps. They get out of the vehicle, 3:59:46. She delivers the food, comes back at 4 o'clock and 28 seconds. The horn beeps again. And then the vehicle pulls out of the King Road neighborhood and it's out of there by 4:02, gone. Then at 4:04, after the Doordash is well gone from any sight of any suspect vehicle, then the suspect vehicle's caught on camera at 4:04 as it's coming back into the King Road neighborhood, effectively proving that the Doordash driver could have never seen suspect vehicle 1.
Yep, thank you, all the girls over in Moscow.
Well, this won't change any of that.
There's a D line on my record.
I think they would be more concerned about the drug use than the DUI, Molly. I think they would be more concerned about the drug use than the DUI, Molly. I think they would be more concerned about the drug use than the DUI, Molly.
Someday things are gonna get easier. Someday things will be brighter. You know, that's about all I got to say about that situation. But I look forward to exposing more as we go. Please like and subscribe to the channel. Post your comments, your thoughts, your criticisms. Till next time, Pavarotti is out.
Get in the car to search my truck.
Can I be your superhero?